your thumbnail skeleton in a new layer, and it's going to be higher opacity. Maybe you want your value plan to be. When you first draw a thumbnail, you want to first establish a frame that will take up a portion of your page, maybe a third or fourth of your page. In this case, these are rather small on the page. And notice how in the bottom example, the mountain subject is just drawn freely, and then the frame is established afterward. I would encourage you to actually establish your frame first, so you can think about the arrangement of your subject matter within that frame from the get-go. And when you establish your thumbnail frame, you want to think about what do you want the orientation of your canvas to be. Do you want it to be wider than it is long, or longer than it is wide? And the first one, the wider than it is long, is called landscape orientation. So you get the feeling of breadth and like you can really explore the space. You can also use the portrait style for a landscape, and that is advantageous when you have elements that are taller or larger. And just note that something as simple and inconspicuous as having one set of edges taller or wider than the other can automatically create a sense of movement to the composition. You also can use panoramic type aspect ratio, so that can be 16:9. That's where you have a frame that is really wide and short by comparison, but that tends to look rather aimless, and again, we're going for unity in these thumbnails. You can also have a square type canvas or aspect ratio 1:1, and that can work too. Just note that it can be rather stagnating. When you establish your frame, whether it's wide or tall or maybe a square, you want to establish a grid too. So you want to add your center line so you know where to avoid placing elements in general. And then I also recommend applying a rule of thirds grid too, so that you know the optimal placement of elements. And then there's also a grid called the golden ratio. I'm not going to go into that. It's too complicated, and I don't personally use it. And again, the grid and frame will be its own layer called the templates or thumbnail frame. And I also want you to indicate your intention from the first stage in this layer as well.